episode 77, and today we talk about the bully of Burundi, the Turkmen terror, the honey consumer of the Cape, the honey badger. And despite them being more famous in Africa, this animal was included in the Asian animals pack because I guess there's just no more Asian exclusive animals that they could have possibly added. Not one. But either way, it was only a matter of time that this animal was added because, let's be honest, at least online, it's probably one of the most famous animals out there. Though I will give some leniency, the fossil record does indicate that they did evolve in Asia roughly 3 million years ago. Probably splitting off from the Eurasian badger, and apparently it was fucking pissed about it. While there's very little history to actually go over with this creature, its tenacity, audacity, and overall badassery led it to a journey through India, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and most of the Arabian Peninsula, and of course, the vast majority of mainland Africa. Obviously, the animal's most notable claim to fame is its absolute crackhead energy, but where does this reputation come from? Well, the honey badger took the evolutionary path of specking entirely into intimidation and attack, and all its defenses essentially just lifting up its ability to strike back. For example, the honey badger has an incredibly strong pelt, being able to survive attacks from wild dogs, leopards, quills of African porcupines, and even a machete. Now, on top of that, being extraordinarily tough, their pelt is very loose. This gives the badger the ability to turn around and literally bite back if an animal goes for the neck, which is kind of how most animals do it. Now, that's a great tool for larger enemies, but what about smaller threats like bees or venomous snakes? Well, lucky for the badger, they have a resistance to most venoms, and much like their neighbors the mongoose, they are renowned snake hunters, and if the name didn't give it away, honey badgers love honey. Now, note I use the word resistance and not immune. A honey badger is absolutely capable of dying from repeated stings or bites. However, if they start to feel they've taken a little bit too much poison damage, they can actually slip into a form of torpor, where they essentially sleep it off like a Saturday night bender. Their last major combat ability is one they learned from their cousins across the pond. They are very stinky, and by that I'm referring to their threat display. In an attempt to avoid the fight altogether, because if there's one thing my senseis taught me, the best way not to lose a fight is not get in one to begin with. But unlike what they taught me, this animal will invert their anus and release an ungodly stench to deter other predators. This smell is so foul, it has been known to even deter bees from attacking, working almost like a fumigator. Now, they don't shoot their funk at their foe like a skunk will, so to really get across to not get fucked with, they will actually rattle their teeth together similarly to the shaking of a rattlesnake's tail. This threatening act is probably where they got their other common name, the ratal. Its infamy on the African savanna is so prolific, there's a very good chance that cheetah cubs had actually evolved so that their fur pattern would mimic the badger's. Now, on top of that lot, the aggressive behavior had actually become such a mainstay of the animal's description, one of the most sought-after personal defense weapons of the late 2010s was given the same name. Chambered at .300 Blackout, the honey badger was a short-barreled rifle designed for the purpose of close-quarters combat. Now, unfortunately, no matter how good it was, the Blackout badger was not invincible, as they were targeted by the largest predator of dogs, fun, and the rights of North America, the ATF. But, getting back to the animal at hand, they aren't just mindless fighters. Despite having the attitude of a chainsaw strapped to a ceiling fan, they are extremely smart animals. Our best example is Stoffel of the Kruger National Park. This two-tone terror was famous for his ability to escape his enclosure using brooms, piles of rocks, and had even broken locks to escape his enclosure. Luckily, despite being a loose cannon rebel, he was pretty tame, seeing how he was essentially raised by people. However, one of his jailbreaks did lead him into a lion enclosure which almost killed him. Of course, though, him being a honey badger, after being saved, he immediately wanted to get back in there for round 2 and show them who's really the king of the jungle. This intelligence in the wild has actually led to them stealing food from leopards, cheetahs, and even people. Now, I hadn't heard of any hunters getting their pockets ran by a honey badger, but they are very much the bane of any poultry farmer in any realm that has their influence. Much like other mustelids, honey badgers are known to surplus kill, aka padding their stats with kills so that they have more than they can eat, saving it for later. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find much cultural influence for the honey badger. It seems to be an animal that only really received its dues in the modern era of the internet. However, I did find one piece of lore where in Somalia, some of the more traditional beliefs feel that the bite of a honey badger can cause infertility in men. Knowing how mean these little bastards are, I'm pretty sure that's true, but for a much more X-rated reason than superstition. And with all that said and done, I believe that is the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That's kind of what you need to do. Views don't do too much for YouTube anymore. Apparently you have to actually interact, so I very much am slightly begging for some attention. But until next time, go outside, touch grass, hug your loved one, drink water, and bye-bye.